Beeping. Sharp. Repetitive. I couldn't move, but I heard it. I heard everything. A door opened. Shoes scraped the floor. A voice deep, forced calm spoke near my left ear. "Is she responsive at all?" the doctor answered. "No, unconscious since admission. She needs cranial surgery immediately if we're to relieve the pressure." Then came my son's voice. "Clay. Flat. Cold. Let her go." The doctor paused. "We can still know. We're not paying for surgery. Just let her go." A pen clicked, papers rustled, and then he signed. "I'll sign the DNR." A moment passed. Silence thick and ugly. Then footsteps walked out. And I stayed, still breathing, still here. But something cracked inside me. Not bone, not blood. Something quieter. Something deeper. I don't know how long after that I drifted again. The beeping slowed. A nurse murmured. Machines hissed. Time twisted. I woke the next morning. Weak. Bruised. Alive. They said I'd made it through without the surgery. They said it was a miracle. They didn't know about the conversation I heard. They didn't know I remembered every word, or that the room had been wired. Howard, my lawyer, had insisted on it. "Evelyn, if you're ever admitted again, I want to place a recorder in the room. Just precaution. You're alone, and power of attorney's been shifted." I'd agreed. I didn't think it'd matter. It mattered. They wheeled me into a different room. I asked for Clay. "He stepped out after you were stable," the nurse said. He seemed relieved. Relieved, not happy, not grateful, just relieved. He didn't come back. Not that day. Not the next. 2 days later, I signed myself out against recommendation. The social worker offered to call someone. I said no. A cab dropped me at my front porch. I still had my house key in my wallet. My fingers shook, unlocking the door. Inside, the house was clean. Too clean. The family photos had been moved. My wedding portrait was no longer above the fireplace. The couch was gone. A new one, modern cold gray, stood in its place. I stood in the middle of my own living room and realized something had shifted. The silence wasn't peace. It was a warning. In the kitchen, a note sat by the sink. "Glad you're home, Mom. Dana thought it was time to refresh the place a bit. You'll love the new look. Clay." I poured a glass of water. My hand trembled as I held the glass to my lips. He thought I wouldn't wake up. He planned around it. He signed the order. I sat down, turned on the recorder Howard had given me, and listened. Clay's voice filled the room. "Let her go. We're not paying for surgery." That was his first instinct. Not, "What does she need?" Not, "How do we help?" Just, "She's too expensive to save." I looked at the envelope Howard gave me a year ago, the one I hadn't opened yet. Not today. I had other things to check first. I got up and walked toward the hallway closet. The red folder was gone. I dressed myself. Slow. Clumsy. No one offered to help. A nurse handed me the discharge papers. I signed. No Clay, no Dana, not even a text. They called a cab. I waited in the lobby with a paper bag of medications and a hospital blanket over my legs. My name was still on the insurance. I hadn't let them touch that yet. The driver didn't speak much, didn't ask questions. I was just another old woman getting dropped off. He pulled up to my driveway. I gave him a 20. He didn't have change. I waved it off. My own porch looked unfamiliar, like something staged. I stepped up 1 foot at a time, gripping the railing tighter than I wanted to admit. My fingers found the key in my purse, still where I'd left it. I turned the lock, walked in. Cold, not the temperature. The air, like the place had stopped waiting for me. Mail on the table, lights off. A faint smell of bleach. A throw blanket mine sat folded on the floor next to a different armchair. One I hadn't bought. The walls were bare. The family collage was gone. I walked slowly to the hallway. Closet door open. Red folder missing. Bedroom door ajar. Bed made. Pill bottles gone. I sat on the edge of the mattress, closed my eyes, focused on the sound of the house breathing. No pipes, no creaks, just nothing. I opened the nightstand drawer. Empty. They'd cleaned me out like I was already gone. I stood, opened the second drawer. My wallet was there. My wedding ring, too. But not the flash drive. Not the binder marked Greer. I went to the kitchen. The fridge had new labels. Almond milk, low sodium soup. For baby? Dana. I stared at the note again. Glad you're home, Mom. No signature. Just Clay's name scrawled like an afterthought. I checked the top drawer by the sink. Still there, my copy of the house deed. Still in my name. That would be harder to erase. But it made me nervous. They knew where it was now. I folded it, slid it into the bottom of the flour tin, and shoved it back behind the canned beans. Then I made coffee. The old way. Pot on the stove. No machines. My hand trembled pouring it, but I didn't spill. I sat at the table, looked out the window, watched nothing happen. No one pulled up. No one knocked. No flowers. No welcome back. Just silence. Like I'd never left. The clock ticked louder than usual. I sipped. Swallowed. Then stood and walked to the living room. The new couch. Smooth fabric. Gray-blue. Too modern. Too clean. I sat. Hard. Cold. Too high off the ground. Like it wasn't meant for me. I leaned back and let my hand fall to the cushion seam. There was a rip. Not much. Just enough. I dug my fingers in. A corner of paper. Folded. Stuffed deep. I tugged it out. Read it. Draft Assisted Living Transition Plan. Evelyn Maris. They had a plan. They had a timeline. They expected me to be compliant, cooperative, gone. I stood up, walked back to the kitchen, opened the back of the spice cabinet, and reached behind the oregano. I reached deeper behind the spices. Nothing. I checked again, back wall, bottom, seam, corners. No envelope, no folder, no dust mark where it should have been. The red folder was gone. That folder held everything. My will, my late husband's handwritten amendment, the original property deed, my life in paper. Gone. I closed the cabinet slowly, turned toward the living room. The couch stared back. That couch didn't belong here, didn't smell like us, didn't match the rug. It wasn't for me. I sat anyway, pulled out my phone, called Clay. He picked up fast. Hey, Mom, you made it home okay? No thanks to you, I said, voice flat. A pause, then a chuckle. Come on, you're tough. Hospital said you were stable. Dana had errands. I figured you'd want rest. I'm missing something. Yeah, casual. My red folder. Another pause. Shorter. What folder? You know what folder? Mom, you're still groggy. Probably just misplaced it. No. I put it behind the spices. You've seen it. Well, maybe you moved it during the remodel, or Dana moved spices around for the baby stuff. Maybe it got tossed accidentally. Did you toss it? Silence? No. He said it too fast. You know what was in it. I don't. You were banking on that folder disappearing. That's not fair, Mom. He hung up. I stared at the screen. One thing about Clay, he only hangs up when he's nervous. I stood, walked to the bedroom, ripped open drawers, checked the floorboards under the dresser. Empty. Back to the hall closet. Nothing behind the winter coats. Gone, but not forgotten. Howard had one copy, maybe two. I just needed to stay 3 steps ahead. I went to the linen closet, pulled out the old quilt box, felt under the bottom flap. Yes, the green envelope was still there, unopened, sealed, marked use only if you no longer trust anyone else. I put it back. Not yet. Not yet. I walked to the garage. The overhead light flickered, cold, musty. Clay's old boxes had been moved, pushed against the furnace. One was open, inside my tax files. Some labeled discard, some sliced open. I knelt, dug through them, found the folder marked Greer, legal backups. Empty. They'd taken that one too. I stood, closed the box, shut off the light. Back inside, I washed my hands, sat at the kitchen table, pulled a spiral notepad from the drawer, clicked a pen. I started writing. Clay signed DNR recorded, red folder gone, property backups, missing, garage files disturbed, assisted living plan, draft house redecorated, no contact post-discharge, no flowers, no apology. I underlined the last one. Then I circled the first. I tore the page, folded it, slipped it into my bra. I'd worked as a nurse for 32 years. I knew what families did when they smelled death too early. Some waited, some planned. Some cleared the room before the body went cold. I stood, poured the last of the coffee into a thermos, and opened the back door. The wind was picking up, leaves scraping the concrete like soft warnings. I stepped outside and headed for the shed. I unlocked the shed, pulled the chain light. Still dusty, still mine. I opened the storage chest in the corner. Under the old blankets was a small, fireproof lockbox. Combination still the same the day Thomas was born. My first son, the one I buried. Inside, birth certificates. Marriage license, a sealed letter from my husband, and a worn photo of the original deed. Not enough to fight yet, but enough to stall. I brought the box back into the house and placed it under the kitchen sink behind the trash bags. Then I called Clay. Voicemail. I called again. He picked up. Hey, busy, what's up? You replaced my couch. Huh? The couch. My couch. Gone. New one in its place. Oh, that. Dana thought it'd be a good time to update the space. You always said it was old. I didn't say to get rid of it. He laughed, light and fake. Mom, you were in a coma. We didn't think you'd care. We assumed you wouldn't mind. I mind. A pause. Well, it's just furniture. Dana already donated the old one. Without asking, I thought we were past needing to ask about things like this. We're not. Another pause. Longer. You're home. You're safe. That's what matters, right? I hung up. 20 minutes later, Dana showed up with a small bag of vitamins and something that looked like a smoothie. She didn't knock. Just walked in like she always had the right. You're supposed to drink something like this every morning, she said, placing it on the table. I didn't touch it. You should really be thankful, she added. We cleaned everything. Got rid of dust, old papers, expired meds. She said it casually, but I heard it clear. Old papers. Where's the red folder, I asked. She blinked. What red folder? Labeled Maris, deed. You moved everything else? You saw it. Must have gotten tossed if it looked old. We didn't read through junk. She smiled like she'd done me a favor. I stared. She started unpacking her tote like she lived here. Wipes, a changing pad, an infant onesie. There's no baby here, I said. I'm prepping. Once the baby's born, this'll be our weekend home. More space. I just watched her. You're not listening, I said. I am. I'm just not arguing. We're doing what makes sense. She walked into the living room, fluffed the pillows she'd bought, rearranged a throw she'd draped over the arm of the new couch. This looks better now, she said. Matches our style. I stood in the doorway. She paused. You okay? I'm deciding something? Dana looked confused. About what? If I'm going to stay quiet. She smiled again. It's just decor, Evelyn. Don't make it dramatic. But I wasn't looking at the couch. I was looking at the framed print she'd hung where our family photo used to be. Some abstract painting, gray swirls, and one gold line. Like someone had erased everything, then drawn a single perfect strike through the center. Dana walked past me. Kissed the air near my cheek. Rest. It's been a hard week for you. She left the door open behind her. I shut it. Locked it. then walked to the basement door and flipped on the light. I stepped down the basement stairs. Each creak of wood felt louder than the last. I opened the fuse box, checked the back panel. Still sealed. No tampering. I turned and scanned the shelves. Paint cans, tools, cleaning supplies. Then I climbed back up, shut the basement door, and locked it. The truth wasn't down there. It was behind the cinnamon. I stood on a chair, reached to the top shelf of the spice cabinet, pushed aside the tall containers. My fingers found the gap, then the edge. Paper. I pulled it out. A green envelope. Thick. Sealed with tape and a wax stamp my husband used to joke about, said it made him feel like a spy. I sat at the kitchen table. Broke the seal. Inside copies. 3 documents. The first, my original will. The second, a handwritten amendment from my husband, notarized the year before he died. The third, a transfer clause. Quiet. Legal. Binding. It stated that in the event of dispute, or if Clay attempted to override my medical decisions or tamper with assets, all property and decision power reverted to me exclusively. Irrevocable. Clay didn't know this existed. Howard did. I exhaled, folded them back carefully, slid them into a blank manila folder, and taped the green envelope to the back of a cereal box in the pantry. Then I opened my laptop. No power. Charger gone. I opened the drawer where I kept the backup. Gone. They'd taken it too. I stood, poured the last of the coffee from the thermos into my cup, sat again, and looked around the kitchen. Every plate, every surface, every drawer, they'd touched it all. But they'd missed the envelope. That was my first win. I texted Howard. I'm ready to talk. Come tomorrow. Quietly. No reply yet. I didn't expect one right away. It was after midnight. I turned off the lights, sat in the dark, and let the silence return. Not the scared kind. The waiting kind. Then I stood and walked to the hall closet. Time to make sure the attic lock was still broken, just like I'd left it. I wiped the table twice before leaving. Wrote a note. Locked the door. Walked 2 blocks and waited on the corner bench until Lorna's car pulled up. She still drove the same cream-colored Buick from 10 years ago. She waved sharp and cheerful as always. We hugged. I sat. She smelled like mint gum and linen spray. You look thin, she said. You look like a woman who still folds her napkins. I do, she smirked. And I brought real food. No smoothies. She popped the trunk. Chicken salad, pickles, coffee in a thermos. We sat under a tree near the edge of the park. No one near. I told her everything, the accident, the coma, Clay's voice in the room, the DNR, the new furniture, the deleted folder, Dana's words, the smoothie. She didn't interrupt. Just nodded, eyes narrowed, chewing slowly. When I finished, I took a breath. The silence stretched. Then she said, if he signed a DNR while you were still conscious, that's attempted murder, Evelyn. I didn't flinch. I thought that too. Did you speak to the doctor? Not yet. Good. Don't. She unscrewed the coffee lid. Poured for both of us. They'll lawyer up fast. You need documentation before confrontation. I have the recording. Back up it today. Then 3 copies. She reached into her purse. Handed me a small flash drive. This is encrypted. I use it for estate clients. Dump your recording here. I took it. Didn't speak. Lorna watched me. You always protected him. I raised him. That's not the same. I sipped. Let the bitterness sit. He told the doctor I wasn't worth saving. Then don't waste time saving him now. She leaned forward. They don't think you have anything left, so don't let them see you do. Not yet. She wrote on a napkin, slid it over. Howard, Tuesday, 9 a.m. Office B. Back door. He's waiting. I nodded. I found the green envelope. Lorna smiled. Then they've already lost. They just don't know it yet. I looked down at my hands. They moved everything, even took my charger. They're building a case that you're confused, forgetful. I met her eyes. Then I'll stop pretending I'm not angry. She didn't blink. Good. We ate the rest in silence. Before we parted, she handed me a folded piece of paper. Keep this with you. What is it? A letter. Sworn statement. If anything happens before Tuesday, you give it to Howard. She hugged me tight. I hope you burn them slowly. She drove off. I stood at the curb a while. Then I walked back home, pulled the flash drive from my pocket, and opened the drawer below the oven, where I kept my old laptop. The one they didn't know still worked. I was peeling an orange when the door opened without a knock. Clay, Dana behind him, holding a folder. He kissed the air near my head like nothing had happened. Morning, Mom. Dana went straight to the kitchen table, laid the folder down like she was unpacking groceries. Clay sat across from me. We brought something simple. It's just paperwork. Nothing serious. I set the orange down. He opened the folder. 2 sheets, one highlighted, the other notarized. Dana smiled. It's just a quit-claim deed. Makes things smoother down the line. Down what line? Clay leaned in. It's just a formality. You're still the owner. But this way, if anything happens again, the house won't get stuck in probate. I looked at the paper. My name at the top. Their names below. Dana tapped it. We had a lawyer friend draw it up. Easy. No need for court? I pushed the paper an inch back. You said if something happens again. God forbid, Clay said, almost whispering. We just want to avoid delays. Dana laughed lightly. Honestly, it's just smart. You know how long the courts drag these things. I stood. Coffee. They both paused. I walked to the stove, filled the kettle, lit the burner. Clay cleared his throat. Mom, it's not a big deal, just a signature. I know. Water boiled. I poured slowly, letting the steam rise. Dana stepped closer. We can even backdate it. That way, if something were to, I turned. I'm not signing today. Clay frowned. Why not? I don't sign things when people walk in without knocking. Dana raised an eyebrow. We have keys. I can change locks. They both froze. I smiled. Poured 2 cups. Set them down. You'll want cream. Clay didn't reach for his. Dana didn't either. They watched me sip. Then Clay exhaled. Are you mad I set my cup down? I'm alive. No one said welcome home. You replaced my couch. You scrubbed out my house. You threw out my things. And now you're handing me a document that gives away my home. We're just trying to make it easier. For who Dana picked up the folder. We'll come back another time. You'll see it makes sense. I walked them to the door. Clay hesitated. You sure about this? I've never been more sure. They left. I locked the door behind them. Bolted it. Then I returned to the kitchen, dumped their coffee down the sink, and pulled Lorna's flash drive from my pocket. Slid it into the port of my old laptop. The folder opened instantly. There was the audio file. I played the first few seconds. Just let her go. We're not paying for surgery. Clay's voice. Clear. Unshaken. I copied it twice. One for the drive, one for the cloud. Then I opened a new document. Typed, do not sign anything, not even a birthday card. I taped it above the stove. Then I sat back down and started listing every item in the house they'd touched. I shut off the light and stood in the hallway. Footsteps creaked upstairs. Voices. Dana's first. I checked the policy again. If she dies this year, the payout is clean, no contest. I held my breath. She's worth more dead than alive. The policy alone covers the lake house. My knees didn't buckle. I leaned closer. Clay answered. Not a word of protest. Just, then we better not screw this up. Silence. Then Dana again. She didn't sign the deed. She will. Just needs pressure. She's not confused, Clay. That woman's holding something back. I know. A pause. We push harder. Dana's voice dropped lower. If she gets sick again, you do what you did last time. No surgery. Just dignity. They laughed. Quiet. Contained. I stepped back slowly. The floor didn't creak this time. I walked to the guest room, closed the door. Sat on the edge of the bed I never slept in. They weren't guessing anymore. They had a plan. I was the plan. I opened my phone, typed the words, deleted them, typed again. Then I called Howard. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Still nothing. I sat still. The fan above spun slowly. Steady. Unbothered. I reached into my nightstand and pulled out the bottle of aspirin they'd left for me. Checked the seal. It was broken. I threw it in the trash. Then I opened the closet, pulled down the box from the top shelf. Found the envelope from the life insurance company, still unopened. I tore it clean. $500,000 payout. Named beneficiary Clay Maris. Effective 1 year after policy update. Dated 2 months ago. The month of the crash. I folded the letter carefully. Placed it with the green envelope in the cereal box. Then I opened my drawer and took out the small audio recorder Lorna gave me. Clicked record. Sat on the bed. Spoke into the dark. This is Evelyn Maris. I am of sound mind. I have not signed any legal documents since my accident. My son, Clay Maris, and his wife, Dana, attempted to coerce me into signing a quitclaim deed. They have discussed the financial benefit of my death. I am recording this in case anything happens to me before I can speak to my attorney. I clicked stop. Then I saved the file and hid the device under the drawer liner. In the morning, I'd take it to Howard. But tonight, I'd leave the hallway light on. Let them see it. Let them wonder how much I heard. I pulled the chair across the hardwood, climbed up, slid the dusty painting off the nail. The one above my husband's desk. The lake house in winter. He loved that view. The frame was heavier than I remembered. Behind it, taped to the wall, was a black USB stick, labeled in his handwriting, "If anything happens to me." My hand shook, but not from fear, from memory. I climbed down, sat at the desk, plugged it into the old tower, a single file, no folder, MP4. I clicked. The screen lit up. He sat at this same desk, same background, same painting. His hair was grayer than I remembered, his eyes tired but clear. If you're watching this, it means something went wrong. He paused, sighed, looked down at notes. Evelyn, I added a posthumous clause to the trust. Revocable until death. You have full discretion. They can't touch the house unless you assign it. Clay doesn't know. I didn't trust him. I also had the insurance rewritten. There's a secondary policy under your name. It triggers if the first one is tampered with. He looked up. Don't trust the smooth talk. Don't sign anything. I left you enough to walk away clean. Use the red folder. The clause is in there. If it's missing, the green copy is in the kitchen behind the cloves. He smiled faintly. And if you're okay, make your coffee strong. None of that herbal stuff. The screen went black. I sat still. No tears, no shock. Just one sentence ringing in my chest. He didn't trust him either. I copied the video to the flash drive, saved a second copy to my hidden laptop. Then I ejected the USB, wrapped it in paper towel, and hid it behind the cleaning supplies under the sink. At 9 a.m., I had a meeting with Howard. And for once, I wasn't walking in with just questions. I had everything I needed. I slid the folder across Howard's desk. He didn't say a word. Opened it, flipped through the notarized copies, the policy printouts, the USB transcript, the hand-labeled envelope from the cereal box. His eyes stopped on one page, then narrowed. Did you know about this second policy before today? No. He tapped the line with his pen. Evelyn, you are sole trustee. This one's separate from the estate. It was activated 6 weeks after your husband's funeral. I leaned forward. Clay has no idea. Correct. It's still active. He nodded. Payout of $850,000. No transfer provisions. Only you can touch it. I sat back. The room felt warmer. He turned another page. And this trust your husband restructured it before the accident. Revocable until death, yes, but now it's locked. Permanent. He made me the sole owner. He nodded again. Your son can't inherit the house unless you leave it to him, which you haven't. In fact, he held up a notarized slip. This says you reserved the right to revoke any family claims if there's proven misconduct. I met his eyes. I have proof. A recording. 2, actually, backed up 3 times. Good. He leaned back. This is no longer just a property issue. It's a case of attempted fraud. Possibly worse. I exhaled. He wasn't alarmed. He was methodical, professional, exactly what I needed. What now? I asked. We don't confront yet. We prepare, quietly, paper trails, financial freezes, title holds. He passed me another folder. This one has your name and only your name. Inside, a draft letter to the insurance company, a freeze request for property title movement, and a checklist for limited power of attorney activation. Sign these. Then go home. Act normal. I did. We shook hands. He looked at me once more before I left. Evelyn, they're walking straight into the fire. I smiled. They said it. I stepped out into the cold. Phone in hand. I called Clay. Tacos tonight, I asked. He paused. Sure. I'll tell Dana. I walked slow. Bought extra cilantro. They wanted normal, I'd give them the show. But I already owned the stage. I stepped into the office just after 9. Howard Greer looked up from a stack of files. Neat suit, no smile. Just a nod. Come in, Evelyn. I sat. He pulled a legal pad closer. You brought it. I handed him the drive. He plugged it in, played it. Clay's voice came through. Clean, cold. Just let her go. We're not paying for surgery. Then Dana's. She's worth more dead than alive. Greer didn't flinch. He clicked, stop, then slid a folder toward me. Inside, copies of the DNR order Clay had signed. The signatures forged. The doctor suspected it, but didn't press. There's no legal basis if you were conscious. I wasn't. He nodded. And yet, here you are. Next, he pulled out the trust documents. This confirms it. You hold the deed. You're trustee on both policies. They have no claim, but they think they do. He closed the folder. We let them hang themselves. I said nothing. He continued. We log every visit, every call. You say nothing. You sign nothing. You give them rope. I nodded. They will ask for access again. Maybe with urgency. I raised an eyebrow. Should I play scared? No. Be neutral. Be you. They already underestimate that. I leaned forward. How long do we wait? He didn't blink. Until they step over the line. I left the office with a folder in my purse. Inside, a signed letter authorizing Greer to act on my behalf. At the bottom, my initials. I stepped into the cold phone in hand. 10 minutes later, Dana texted, Can we drop by tomorrow? Clay wants to show you something, I replied. Sure, I'll make coffee. I smiled as I opened the door. Clay held a manila envelope. Dana followed behind him wearing lipstick, 2 shades too bright. Coffee smells good, she said. Brushing past me. Clay placed the envelope on the dining table. Just a few things to review, he said casually. I nodded. Let me get my glasses. I walked into the bedroom, pulled the decoy document from my drawer. I'd spent the night copying their original format margin, even the notary stamp. But where their document transferred the title mine assigned rights to no one. Back in the dining room, I handed Clay the fake. He watched me sign it. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Dana exhaled like a balloon had been let go. See, she chirped. Easy. I slid the paper back into the envelope, handed it to Clay. He tucked it into his briefcase like it was gold. They left 10 minutes later. As soon as the door shut, I locked it. I turned to the hallway camera light blinking red. 2 more blinked green, one in the kitchen, one in the living room. I'd spent all morning installing them. Small, silent motion triggered. Lorna had ordered them for me. By afternoon, the house was spotless. By evening, full. Dana brought wine. Clay grilled steak like it was a holiday. They invited 2 friends. Sat them right on my dining chairs. Used my plates. Called it hosting. I poured coffee. Refilled glasses. Smiled. They toasted. To new beginnings, Dana said. To family. Clay added. I lifted my cup. Watched the red light blink. They laughed. Took selfies. Posted stories. At 9:40 p.m., Dana said, "Let's talk about renovations. We were thinking of removing that old study, make it more open concept." Clay nodded. Maybe knock out the back wall. I sipped my coffee. Of course. The camera saw it all. My hand, my face. The way Dana reached across the table and moved my centerpiece without asking. They thought they'd won, but I hadn't played my card. Not yet. Dana cut her steak like she owned the place. Elena's contractor said we could get the walls down in 2 days, she said, swirling her wine. We'll turn the study into a sunroom. Clay nodded, chewing. Makes the resale easier. Big open concept sells. Dana smirked. Of course we'll wait until things settle. But it's all handled. When Evelyn's gone, the house is ours. She said it like she was talking about an overdue Amazon package. I walked in with the dessert tray. Pecan pie sliced clean. Who wants whipped cream? I asked. Dana raised a hand. Sure, why not? Life's short, right? The corner camera blinked red. I served her a thick slice. Even let her talk through it. She told her friend across the table, Margot was it, about her vision for the master bath. New tile, marble, maybe brass finishes. Clay added, we'll redo the floors too. Mom's never liked hardwood. But it's time to upgrade. I sat at the head of the table. Listened. Not a single mention of me in the present tense. Only future. Only absence. They talked as if I were a ghost sitting there sipping coffee. Dana leaned over again, lowered her voice just enough to pretend it was private. She's signing everything anyway. She just wants to feel involved. They all chuckled. I reached for my mug. Camera blinked. I smiled. Anyone want decaf? I asked. They declined. But Clay raised a toast. To progress. To patience, I said. I watched his fingers wrap around the glass. He didn't even flinch when I said it. They didn't know their words were evidence now. They didn't see the camera tucked behind the shelf reflecting in the wine bottle just slightly. And they certainly didn't know I'd already mailed the footage to Howard. Let them talk. Let them build their fantasy. I'd serve the bill later. I opened the door. Strangers walked in. Dana beamed like she was hosting a gala. Welcome, come in. Isn't the space beautiful? They nodded. Shoes on, wine in hand, coats flung over my banister. She guided them like a realtor. This is the original hardwood. We're thinking of replacing it. Something lighter. I stood by the kitchen handing out glasses of Cabernet. Clay laughed with 2 men near the fireplace. One of them asked, "Is this your place now?" Clay didn't hesitate. "Yup. It's all under my name. Just a matter of paperwork." He was holding the quit-claim decoy I'd given him last week. Dana raised her glass. "We're so grateful. Honestly, Evelyn's been surprisingly easygoing." I smiled. Not because I liked what she said, because I'd already emailed the footage to Howard. Because the real quit-claim deed, the valid one, had never been signed. Because every guest in that room was unknowingly watching a fraud in motion. They posed for pictures in front of the fireplace, on my couch. With my family photos still on the wall, Dana didn't notice or didn't care. She pulled out her phone and live-streamed a tour. "Say hi, everyone," she shouted, turning the camera toward the crowd. I stood off to the side mug in hand. Camera blinked red in the corner. She waved toward me, forced a laugh. "And this is Evelyn, The sweetest mother-in-law in the world. I raised my cup, watched her turn back to her guests, as if I were furniture, as if I'd already left. I walked past the crowd into the kitchen, refilled a tray with wine. They thought they'd taken the stage. I let them dance. It looks like the files I attempted to access are no longer available. To proceed with, I'll continue based on the full narrative flow we've built so far. I tapped my glass. Not hard. Just enough to cut the music. Conversations died down. Dana turned her head still mid-laugh. Clay looked annoyed. "I've invited someone else tonight," I said. The front door opened. Howard Greer stepped in. Dark suit, quiet shoes, a thin black folder in hand. Dana's smile froze. Clay stood stiff. "What is this?" Howard didn't answer. He placed the folder on the dining table, flipped it open. Click. A small speaker played. Clay's voice filled the room. "Just let her go. We're not paying for surgery." Gasps. Heads turned. Someone dropped a fork. Dana's voice followed. "She's worth more dead than alive. The policy alone covers the lake house." Then silence. Howard looked at Clay. "You signed a DNR on behalf of someone conscious. That's attempted medical fraud." He pulled a second document. "You also submitted a forged quitclaim deed. This," he held it up, "is not binding." Dana lunged forward. "That's ridiculous." She signed. "She signed a decoy," I said. Howard opened another page. "You filed insurance inquiries using false representation. You pretended to have power of attorney. You don't." Clay's hands balled into fists. "This is my family's business, not a courtroom." Howard looked at him. "Then stop acting like a criminal." He placed the last item on the table, a photograph. Clay, Dana, holding up a wine glass. Caption, "Cheers to our future estate," posted from Dana's account. Dated 2 days after I returned from the hospital. Dana's face drained. Margot stood up and grabbed her purse. Others followed. No one said goodbye. Howard turned to me. Ready for step 2, I nodded once. Tomorrow. He left. I stayed standing. Clay stared at the table like it betrayed him. Dana didn't move. I walked past them, collected the empty glasses and started washing them one by one. The file I tried to access is no longer available, but I'll continue the story directly. Greer filed the injunction at 9:02 a.m. By noon, the trust activated. The title reverted fully and irrevocably to my name, the property, the land, the contents inside, all locked, protected. At 2:14 p.m., Clay tried to transfer funds. Declined. At 2:16 p.m., Dana called the bank. No access, they told her. Owner authorization revoked. At 2:30 p.m., Clay pounded on my front door. I watched through the peephole, red-faced, eyes wild. Open the damn door, Mom, I didn't. I let him knock, then scream, then threaten. I opened the door when his voice cracked. He stepped forward. I stepped back. "Not your house," I said. His jaw clenched. "You tricked us." "No," I said. "You buried me before I was dead." He shoved a crumpled document forward. "Quitclaim." I laughed. "Invalid." "You can't do this." I already did. I closed the door, turned the bolt, walked to the kitchen. The cameras were still rolling. By evening, Dana had packed 2 suitcases. She yelled from the driveway, said I was cruel, said I was bitter, said I'd regret it. I didn't answer. She stood there for 10 minutes, then got in the car and left. Clay stayed, slept in the car outside, engine running. By morning, the battery was dead. Dana posted a photo of herself crying. Caption, "After everything we gave her, this is how she treats us." It got 3 likes. 1 was from her cousin. The other 2 vanished within the hour. She called my sister. She tricked us. She's been plotting this whole time. My sister listened, then said, "You mean Evelyn survived and your angry Dana hung up?" Clay's friends stopped coming by. One sent a message. "Bro, this is bad. HR's asking questions. Lay low. Another unfollowed him. Quiet, no comment. His boss called. Clay, we need to talk about some concerns. Personal conduct. Online behavior. He blamed me. I didn't do anything illegal. They didn't say he did. But the meeting stopped. The bonus froze. The team moved on without him. Dana's mother refused to visit, said it looked messy. The contractor backed out of their kitchen remodel. Cited legal exposure. Dana paced the front lawn while waiting for an Uber, shouting into her phone. She's lying. She's a manipulative old woman. She didn't know my neighbor was filming it. Didn't know the clip would be uploaded. Didn't know it would go viral with the caption, "Woman loses fake inheritance, blames victim." By dusk, they were ghosts in a town they once ruled. They walked through stores and people looked away. They called people and no one answered. They said my name and it carried weight again. I didn't raise my voice. I just stayed still and watched the noise turn on them. I sent the flowers back. Didn't even open the card. He used lilies. I hate lilies. The delivery boy looked confused. I just said, "Wrong house." He tried again the next day. Orchids this time. A note scribbled in haste. "Let's talk, Mom." I didn't answer. Didn't throw them out either. I let them rot on the porch. On Thursday, Dana left him. No post, no announcement, just a black suitcase, her heels clicking fast down the sidewalk. She didn't look back. Clay stood in the doorway like a child who'd broken something expensive. He knocked that night. Once. Twice. "Mom. Please." I stood behind the curtain. He paced. Sat on the steps. Cursed. Then tried soft words again. I was scared, that's all. I didn't know how to. He stopped talking when I turned off the porch light. He came back the next morning. Waited by the mailbox. Held a cup of coffee like it meant something. Waved once. I waved back. But didn't move. Didn't unlock anything. That night, he didn't come. The porch felt wider, the silence deeper. I poured myself a fresh cup. Drank it slow. Bitter. Like memory. I sealed the last box with one strip of tape. The echo of cardboard against cardboard. No farewell. No goodbyes. Just dishes. Papers. My father's watch. I left the old coffee mug out, the one that said "Still here." I'd take that in the front seat with me. The dog barked once. Restless. She hated change. So did I once. I gave the keys to Mr. Greer. Sell it quiet. Nothing public. He nodded. "It's yours. Whatever pace you want." The safe was already packed. It held my husband's letter, the USB, the policy, and the original trust deed. Taped beneath the lid a photo of me at 28, holding Clay in the hospital. He had no idea I kept it. No idea who I was before he rewrote me. The truck arrived on time. No movers, just me and the dog. One trip. No forwarding address. The air smelled clean near the coast. Sharp. Honest. The new house was small. Bright. No steps. No voices I didn't choose. I unpacked only what mattered. The deed went in a drawer. The safe under the bed. The photo on the wall by the window where the light hit it softly in the morning. I poured the coffee slow. Steam rose. My hands didn't shake. The ceramic mug sat by the sink, chipped on one side, stained inside from years of use. It said, "Still here." I filled it. Sipped. Let the heat settle in my chest. No knocking, no yelling, no lawyer calls, no mail from Clay, no signature requests, just the dog curled up by the door, just morning light on tile. I walked to the porch, sat on the step, let my legs stretch out, watched nothing happen. Birds chirped. Leaves rustled. The world spun without asking anything from me. And I didn't owe it anything either. I thought of the hospital. The quiet beeps. The breath I almost didn't take. I thought of his voice. "Let her go. We're not paying." He thought I didn't hear, but I did. And then I lived. And now, Now I existed on my own terms. No permission, no apologies, no explaining. The mug warmed my palms. I stared out toward the trees and didn't move. Still here, still me, still standing.